Hello and welcome. In this three-part video, we'll try to answer the question, what is Theosophy? Quoting mainly, but not exclusively, theosophical writers. All the bibliography used can be found below on the YouTube site. In order to answer the question, what is Theosophy, the following points will be considered. In this first video, we'll see the meaning of transcendental theosophy, that is to say, the state of consciousness of inner enlightenment. In the second part, we will focus on universal theosophy, that is, those theosophical teachings given by every great thinker, sage and philosopher, modern or ancient. In this category, we can add two subcategories. Primordial theosophy, ancient theosophy, sometimes called the ancient wisdom, meaning that ancient truth known in the past as the wisdom religion. And traditional theosophy, which is a religious philosophical approach to life, involving a tradition of teachings practiced by various persons and groups throughout history. From there, we will see in the third and last video the connection with modern theosophy, that is, the theosophical teachings offered by the members of the Theosophical Society. A fundamental necessity, answering the big questions of life. If you ever wondered about the big questions of life, who am I really? Why is the world the way it is? Where did I come from? What am I doing here? What comes next? What is death? Is there a destiny? Is there good or bad luck? When will I find out all these things? Questions that seem unanswerable, that proves you are human. We human beings are curious about ourselves and the world around us. That curiosity appears especially in little children, who are continually asking what and why. As we grow older, we may learn to live with our unknowing and stop asking such questions, at least overtly. But being human, we have a passion for knowing the meaning of things, and that passion cannot be wholly suppressed. The human passion for understanding ourselves and the world around us puts us on a quest for self-discovery. Over the ages, humans have developed several approaches to answering their own questions, for pursuing their search. Three of the most important of such approaches are science, philosophy and religion, each of which starts from its own assumptions and goes about forming its answers in its own way. Because of those differences, science, philosophy and religion may occasionally seem to contradict one another, but because they're all trying to answer the big questions, their answers cannot really be contradictory. Instead, we need to understand what causes the differences and how we can find the truth in common to these varied approaches. There has always been a fundamental necessity, expressed in different ways in religion, philosophy and science, to unify all diversity, to reconcile all opposites, under one general term or concept, to postulate the existence of some one root, absolute principle, existing eternally as the cause, the source or the container of all things, because peace can never be found in an unreconciled and conflicting many. As the Bhagavad Gita says, only when the soul sees the many rooted in the one and also branching out from that one, does knowledge become complete and perfect. Manyness is patent all around, oneness is not so evident, but the craving for a unity which would enmesh all multiplicity without destroying it is inherent in the human soul. The soul is the final unity and yearns to regain what it feels it has lost. And that brings us to Theosophy. Theosophy is a way of answering the big questions of life, by trying to reconcile the varied approaches of science, philosophy and religion, without limiting itself to any of their particular assumptions or ways. It relies on its own assumptions and ways while embracing all that is true and valuable in other approaches. The term Theosophia apparently was first recorded during the 3rd century of our era by Porphyry, a well-known Alexandrian philosopher who belonged to the Neoplatonic school. It is composed of two Greek words, theo meaning God or divine and sophia or wisdom, which may also be translated as wisdom of the gods, wisdom in things divine, or divine wisdom. Transcendental theosophy, that is to say, the state of consciousness of inner enlightenment. In her article What is Theosophy?, H.P.B. attempts an explanation of the term theosophy, describing who a theosophist is. To that end she quotes Vaughan's definition. A theosophist, he says, is one who gives you a theory of God and the works of God, which has not revelation but an inspiration of his own for its basis. A theosophist's knowledge about the divine does not come from any external source. It does not gather information from books, teachers, etc., but from his own inmost nature. In fact, an essential common feature of every theosophist is his teaching about the possibility for a human being to reach the divine at the moment of real ecstasy, or what is known as samadhi in Eastern philosophy. In her article The Beacon of the Unknown, H.P.B. speaks about this as being a transcendental theosophy, which, according to her, is true theosophy, inner theosophy, that of the soul. The infinite cannot be known to our reason, which can only distinguish and define, but we can always conceive the abstract idea thereof, thanks to that faculty higher than our reason, intuition, or the spiritual instinct. This kind of knowledge is much deeper than that acquired through books and lectures, because one deals with reality in a more direct way than through ideas. This perception is supraconceptual. From this point of view, theosophy essentially is not a limited body of concepts, but transcends any verbal formulation. So, this true theosophy, inner theosophy, that of the soul, is connected with the use and development of the spiritual intuition.